Hey gentlemen, I am your buddy. Iran's Kheibar Shekan missile just hit Netanyahu's secret bunker in Tel Aviv. That's the claim blowing up right now, and I get why it's going viral. It hits every button at once. Secret bunker, direct hit, leadership target, dramatic escalation. It's the kind of sentence that doesn't want you informed, it wants you activated. So here's what you're going to get in this video, fast and clean. First, what's actually been reported versus what's being claimed. Second, the simple framework to judge bunker hit stories when you don't have perfect information. Third, what would have to be true for this to be real, what would make it unlikely, and what signals to watch next. And I'm going to give you the mini payoff right now so you're not waiting for the point. The biggest mistake people make in moments like this is treating the first viral version as the final version. The first version is almost always optimized for attention, not accuracy. Now let's slow down and separate three categories, because if you can do this, you'll stop getting played by breaking news. Category 1, confirmed facts. Category 2, unverified claims. Category 3, narrative packaging. Confirmed facts are what multiple credible sources agree on. Unverified claims are what one side says happened, often without independent confirmation. Narrative packaging is how the internet wraps those claims into a movie trailer to make you share it. Right now, what's widely reported and confirmable is that Iran has launched missile and drone barrages toward Israel during this conflict period, including impacts and interceptions, with Tel Aviv repeatedly in the conversation and imagery from the ground showing damage and people sheltering. The Times of Israel. What is not confirmed, at least not in the kind of way you should bet your understanding on, is the specific claim that a particular missile hit a secret bunker used by Netanyahu in Tel Aviv, and that it was definitively a Kheibar Shekan. Some outlets and channels repeat it as if it's established. Other reporting and fact-checking has pushed back on similar leadership target claims, including claims about Netanyahu's office being hit. The week. So if you're hearing, "It definitely hit Netanyahu's secret bunker," you should hear a quieter sentence underneath it. Someone is claiming something very specific, and the evidence may not be public, may be incomplete, or may be disputed. That doesn't mean it's false. It means you should treat it like a claim until it clears the confirmation bar. Now let's talk about why bunker hit claims are so powerful and why they're so hard to verify quickly. Bunkers are designed for exactly this moment. They're meant to be hidden, hardened, and survivable. Their locations are often deliberately ambiguous. Details about who is inside, when, and where leadership is sheltered can be tightly controlled information, so the public almost never gets clean confirmation in real time. What you get instead is a fog of competing statements. One side wants to project capability and intimidation. The other side wants to project control and survivability. And the internet wants drama. So how do you evaluate the story without falling into two lazy traps? Trap 1 is believing everything immediately. Trap 2 is dismissing everything as fake. You need a framework that lives between those. Here's the framework. When you hear secret bunker was hit, ask 4 questions. 1. Who is making the claim? 2. What physical evidence is being shown? 3. What independent corroboration exists? 4. What would each side gain by confirming or denying it? Let's go through them quickly. Who is making the claim? Often these stories originate in state-affiliated media, partisan outlets, or fast-moving social channels that don't have to meet the same verification standard as major wire services. That doesn't automatically make them wrong, but it changes how careful you should be. Next, what physical evidence is being shown? Photos of a crater, dust, smoke, broken windows. Those can prove an impact, but they don't prove a bunker, and they definitely don't prove who was inside. A bunker claim is not just something was hit. It's something underground, hardened, and sensitive was hit. That requires stronger evidence than a viral clip of damage. Third, independent corroboration. This is the hardest part in wartime. Independent corroboration might come from multiple outlets that don't share the same incentives: satellite imagery analysts, credible local reporting, or official statements that indirectly acknowledge an event. Right now, what we do have from reputable reporting is confirmation that missiles have impacted in Israel and that Tel Aviv has been under repeated alerts and barrages. The Times of Israel. But Netanyahu's secret bunker was hit is a different level of specificity, and you should wait for corroboration before you treat it as settled. Finally, what does each side gain by confirming or denying it? If Iran can credibly claim it struck a protected leadership site, it projects deterrence and reach. If Israel denies it, or stays vague, it preserves the perception of leadership security and operational continuity. And if Israel confirms it, but emphasizes survival, it can also turn it into a resilience story. So silence, denial, or ambiguity are not proof of anything by themselves. They're part of the strategic communications layer. Now, let's talk about the missile name being used here, because Kheibar Shekan is doing a lot of work emotionally. It sounds modern, specific, and unstoppable, and it's been referenced in multiple reports and claims in this conflict context. Press TV. But here's a reality check. In active conflict reporting, especially with fast-moving strikes, you often cannot confidently identify the exact munition from early clips unless there's debris analysis, official confirmation, or credible technical assessment. People online will label it confidently because confidence goes viral. Reality is slower. So the smartest way to treat the missile label is it's plausible, it's been claimed, but the exact munition may not be verified publicly yet. Now let's address the secret bunker in Tel Aviv part, because this is where things get murky and where older narratives get recycled. There have been previous investigative claims and analyses about underground command facilities in Tel Aviv, including a site sometimes referred to as Site 81 in reporting by specific outlets. The gray zone. But that is not the same thing as Netanyahu's personal bunker, and it is not the same thing as confirmed direct hit today. This is a common trick in viral war content. People mix three different things into one sentence. They mix "there are bunkers in the city" with "this specific bunker is leadership linked" with "this specific strike hit it." Each link in that chain requires proof. Without proof, it's a storyline, not an established fact. Now, does that mean the idea is impossible? No. Let's be adults about this. Modern states do have hardened command facilities, leadership shelters exist, operational bunkers exist, and major cities often have infrastructure that can be used for continuity of government. Also, Tel Aviv has been described in reporting as hosting key command locations and being a place where leadership and military decision-making can occur in protected spaces. The Times of Israel. So the concept is not crazy. The claim is the precision, that this particular missile struck this particular protected site tied to this particular leader. That's the part that needs higher verification. Now let's talk about what would have to be true for this story to be real in the strongest sense. First, there would need to be a credible indication of a strike at a location consistent with a hardened underground facility. That might be unusual damage patterns, protected entrances, a known secure complex, or secondary evidence like emergency response behavior, unusual security cordons, or disruptions around key government operations. Second, there would need to be credible reporting, ideally from more than one outlet with different incentives, that this location is leadership linked. Third, there would need to be some form of confirmation that the facility was actually impacted as intended, not just nearby. And fourth, if the claim is Netanyahu was there, that's an even higher bar, because leadership movements are among the most protected pieces of information in any conflict. Now let's talk about what would make the claim less likely, or at least harder to prove. 1. The simple reality that in wartime, leadership often moves. Even if there are known bunkers, the point is redundancy, mobility, and uncertainty. 2. Hardened facilities are designed to take hits, and sometimes the public sees surface damage and assumes the underground function was compromised, which is not the same thing. 3. There are incentives on all sides to shape perception. A claim like this can be used to boost morale, intimidate, or distract. And that's why you can't judge it on vibes. You judge it on evidence. Now, here's where we zoom out to what actually matters for you as a viewer. Even if this specific bunker claim remains unverified, the fact that it's being widely claimed tells you something real. It tells you the conflict is being fought in two arenas at once: the physical arena, missiles, drones, defenses, impacts, and the perception arena, who looks in control, who looks vulnerable, who looks like they can reach whom. Sometimes the perception arena moves faster than the physical one, and that's why people feel like they're watching a movie trailer of World War III every morning. So what should you watch next if you want clarity? Here are 5 signals, and these are practical. Signal 1: convergence in reporting. If multiple major outlets, not just one camp, start describing a strike at a specific location with consistent details, the confidence level rises. Signal 2: official statements that indirectly acknowledge disruption. Leaders cancel appearances, official schedules change, communications become more controlled, or there's a sudden emphasis on continuity. None of that proves a bunker hit, but it adds context. Signal 3: independent imagery analysis, satellite images, consistent geolocation, structural analysis, and credible third-party verification. Signal 4: retaliation pattern changes. If a strike truly threatens leadership security, the response pattern can shift, either to reassert deterrence or to avoid rapid escalation, depending on strategy. Signal 5: operational posture changes. Changes in air defense posture, protected areas, movement restrictions, unusual security activity. Again, not proof by itself, but signals that something significant may have occurred. Now, let me give you the one clip line that matters in this entire situation, because it explains why these claims spread and why they're dangerous when you treat them as confirmed. In war, the first story is usually a weapon. The first story is usually a weapon. It's a weapon to shape fear, confidence, and behavior. So don't let the first story own you. Track the second and third story, the versions that arrive after facts harden. Now, I also want to address something that's going to show up in comments, because it always does. People will say, "Why would Israel hide it?" Or, "Why would Iran lie about it?" Both are possible. Strategic messaging is part of war, but there's a difference between saying messaging exists and saying, therefore anything is true. That's the mental trap, so keep it simple. Until there's corroboration, treat it as a claim. If corroboration emerges, update your belief. That's not weakness, that's competence. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. The scariest part of modern conflict isn't just who can hit what, it's how quickly people believe they know what happened. That speed of belief is what escalates fear. Fear escalates pressure. Pressure escalates decisions. And that's how miscalculation happens. And miscalculation is often more dangerous than intention, because intention can be negotiated. Miscalculation is a runaway chain. Now I'm going to land this cleanly. Right now, there is credible reporting that Iran has fired missiles toward Israel during this conflict period, with impacts and continuing barrages discussed widely, including Tel Aviv as a focal point. The Times of Israel. There are also circulating claims, heavily amplified online, that a Kheibar Shekan missile struck a secret bunker tied to Netanyahu. As of the latest verifiable reporting I can point to, that specific bunker and leadership linkage is not confirmed publicly at a high standard, and similar claims about leadership sites have been disputed in fact-checking. The weak. So the correct posture is not blind belief and not blind dismissal. It's disciplined uncertainty. Now I want your take, but I want it in a smart way. What do you think is more likely in the next 72 hours? Clearer confirmation that a protected site was hit, or a slow fade of the claim as the evidence doesn't materialize? And separately, do you think the perception war, these viral claims about bunkers and leaders, matters more than the physical damage in shaping what happens next? Drop your take. And if you want more breakdowns that separate confirmed facts from claims without feeding the hype machine, subscribe.